So in today's instalment of Dory Hero, how much more am I going to mutilate this poor E36 shell? The answer is a lot more. So when I finished yesterday, I was looking at the shell and the work I've done and realised that I've overlooked or not really considered the one thing that most BMW owners do, which is to chop through and reinforce the subframe mounting points, both front and rear. It's a modification that was done to my last E36 before I got the car. I'm not sure if that area on these cars is particularly weak, but it does seem to be something that people do quite regularly. And to be fair, it will protect the shell if I have, or when I have, a hard rear ender, because this box isn't really going to bend. It's going to push all the energy through to the subframe mounting points and possibly shift them. So yeah, cut the floor out. Basically, I'll cut the whole area out, put a piece of CDS tube down to where the subframe mounting point is, weld around it. It would be lovely if it works out in line with this, so I can come straight up and attach to the bottom of this and then triangulate, or maybe it doesn't. We'll come to that stage a little bit later on, figure all that out as we go along, but I can certainly put tubes up here, tubes up there, and then either triangulate or tie into the cage, just depending on where everything falls and works out. So that is going to be my first job for the day, is cut out the top of the floor and figure out where the subframe mounting points are and just work out exactly what I'm going to do with that. The other tub is done. This one I haven't done yet. I'm going to wait. I've ordered some thin cardboard to use for templates. I'm going to wait until the cardboard arrives and then I can basically trace around the other one and then apply that shape to this side, so they're both the same. That's worked out really well, and it's not overly important that they match, but I may as well just sort of transfer the shape from one side to the other. That seems sensible. So let's start cutting this out and figure out what's what. So I'll just run through how I mark this tube up. I haven't got a tube notcher. I just cut and angle grind. I do find it easy to do it like this, to be fair. So my method, I've marked the straight line here, so I've got the end for the profile. I split it into half first, and then quarters. Doesn't actually need to be massively accurate to get a nice tight fit. So I marked all four quarters, and then about 1/4 of an inch out to the mark, back into this quarter mark here, and then the same amount again, and that gives you an idea of where to cut. Rather than trying to cut into the tube, cut from this section outwards. As the blade goes in, it creates a nice curve. Then all you've got to do is just flap this bit off, and it fits the profile of the tube pretty much perfectly first time normally. So yeah, very simple, straightforward, easy to do. The other thing I've done with this is to cut a piece of plate. So let me see if I can get this camera positioned in here rather than trying to hold it. So I've cut a piece of plate and hull sawed it, so that slots through the tube. This isn't ideal because if you leave the bottom flat, it won't go in there. So what I've done, I've just taken a little bit off this edge, which I'll have to fill when I weld it. It's not ideal, but I mean, to do this sort of properly, you would weld this in afterwards. You put these in first and then drop the tube onto them, and it'd be a perfect tight fit. But as it's already in there, just had to take a little bit off that corner, so when you put it in there, it just slots in. Still nice and tight, and then I can weld the bottom in, slide this down, and then weld that in there. So it'll be a nice tidy finish once done. A little bit of messing around, but I think it's worth the extra time to get things right. I'll weld up these little holes while I'm at it as well. So let's crack on with welding that. got the rear subframe reinforcing bars in and plated the floor back up again. That was absolutely horrific to do because there was a couple of brackets on here which I ground off, and it made the steel really thin, so even on a really low setting on the welder it just kept blowing through it, so that wasn't much fun at all, but it's done, which is the main thing. I've also, haven't recorded any of this while I did it, but I've also cut out for the front subframe tubes, welded them in and plated them back up again. Again, that looks pretty messy, but it's solid, that's the main thing. Welded one of those up. I haven't got to the other one yet because while I was welding that up, I managed to set fire to the floor. So, yeah, I managed all the rest, and then welding that hole up, the floor caught fire. I wondered what the smell was, and yeah, soon figured it out. So I had to get the fire extinguisher and put that out. I need to put a board underneath, to remember to put a board underneath while I'm welding. So I managed all the rest, and it was just trying to fill up one of these holes. There's these little square holes, so sort of tacking them up. I was trying to fill one of them up, and it must have dropped through and just set fire to the floor. So like I said, I must remember a board of wood, and today is only going to improve because I've now started on the Jack Daniels. So the GoPro memory card was full. I had to transfer the data, and in the meantime I've had another Jack Daniels and a couple of pink gins. So this may not be the most coherent part of filming I've ever done in my life. Anyway, where was I? So, fuel tank will possibly go in here. I would like to mount it further forward if possible, but I need to get the rear mount radiator and ducting in first, see how that works out, and then make a decision on the fuel tank from there. So on the basis that the fuel tank may well end up in this area, this box had to be super strong. Not if, but when I go in backwards hard, because it will happen. It's a drift car. I'm an idiot. You know, stupidity will ensue. This is not going to bend, buckle, move. It is thick-walled box section designed with the entire purpose of protecting the fuel cell. So any energy is going to transfer forward. As it stands, it will, without a doubt, move all the subframe mounting points. So by triangulating from here through to the main hoop in both directions, and then going across, like I said previously, the front subframe mounting supports, it's going to be very difficult for the subframe mounts to move, and that is the sort of whole idea. You know, I'd rather save the shell if I can in a rear impact. So that triangulation, I will continue with that. And like I said, if it becomes UK rates is not a problem, I know that. King of Europe or Drift Kings as it now is, I'm not sure, but like I said, I've seen in the regulations somewhere you can't tie the subframe mounting points into the roll cage. So yep, if we come across a problem at any point, I'll just literally get my battery angle grinder, nip it off, and then that section becomes a standalone subframe reinforcement, not attached to the cage in any way, and it's all legal. So yeah, I've ordered some more tube because that is the last full length I've got. I've got these pieces here for the intrusion, the anti-intrusion protection that tubes through here, but I haven't got any 4mm plate to go on the turret yet, so I need to order some more of that. Yeah, I think that's sort of about it for today. I was planning on doing some more welding, but during the period while I've transferred the data from the memory card to the computer, I've had more alcohol, so I think it's a bad idea to continue welding, because as you've seen, my welding isn't the best when I'm sober. So with a few drinks inside me, I think we better call it a day. So yeah, if you watch the videos regularly and you haven't clicked the subscribe button, please do. It helps me massively with reach to other potential viewers, and sort of shows that the videos are worthwhile. So yeah, anyway, we'll see you all soon.